What is up, guys? Team Newfields here with another deck profile, and today we're going to be looking at my updated Unchained deck profile. I haven't posted one of these in probably a couple months now. I really like this deck. It's a lot of fun. I've been playing it on Dueling Book a little bit and grinding the ladder, so it's always fun to be able to do that with a deck like this. It's very enjoyable, to be honest. I don't think that there are an exceptionally large amount of flaws with it because it's just a cheap deck that doesn't do excessive combos and can play a lot of hand traps. I mean, honestly, this deck is super fun, and considering how cheap it is, I would honestly consider this to possibly be the best budget deck this format. Even with Dragoon being around, like you can make like an access code talker and play around it. And because you play so many hand traps, you have ways of stopping, like an Anaconda or something, which is even better. But I'm going to hop right on into this. I haven't seen if Coder has done an updated list yet. I usually watch a lot of his lists and kind of like base mine around that, but I haven't seen any of his lists lately because he hasn't posted anything on his YouTube, and I don't watch him anywhere else. I think he has a Twitch, I'm not sure, but I don't watch him anywhere else. This is honestly what I've been testing out for a while, but let's hop into this. So for some Unchained cards, we have 3 Rakea and 3 Aruha. I think these are your best 3-ofs. It's just the cards that work really well and get your combos starting. I say combos, but it's really just like small little plays, lines of play, because when I think actual combos, I think of, you know, your major decks like your Infernobles and your Dragon Links. But we also play 2 Sarama. I opted to cut it down to 2 from 3. Reason behind that is strictly because I don't like drawing this card. Like for the most part, you really don't want to draw it. You would rather just summon it off of one of your Aruha or Rakeas, popping like a spell trap card on the field. So I think 2 is perfect there. I don't think there's any reason to go past 2. Then I play 2 Soul and 1 Disaster. I think this is honestly pretty good. I don't think much needs to be shifted from this. Playing 2 of this is really important. Like you don't want to draw it, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. And then Disaster is just there for your link offs, which is pretty significant. Definitely important for your plays. And then I do play the 1 Pankratops. You definitely want to play this card in this deck because you're going second all the time. So yeah, that definitely play Pankratops in any going second deck. It outs a lot of cards when you draw it. Hand traps. We have 3 Nibiru and 3 Ash for the basic stuff. I actually don't play Gamma in here. I wanted to cut Gamma for some other stuff that I thought was useful, and currently I'm actually liking the list without Gamma. I just think it's functioning significantly better. And then we have 3 Valor. I think Valor is ridiculously good. It's just it's too strong, like because it doesn't let your opponent chain block, which is crazy. Stopping your opponent from chain blocking is super important. Moving on to the spells, though, we have triple Extrav and triple Talents. This is like really good. Talents is ridiculous. It also outs Dragoon, which is really important because you really don't want your opponent to start going off with, you know, their Dragoon for turn after turn after turn. I'd rather just let them, you know, negate a card and then take their Dragoon with the Talents, and that's what it's there for. The Extra is good too because we play virtually all 3-ofs in the extra deck, or a lot of multiples, I should say, purposely. Then we have 3 Prison. This is just a requirement. I don't play Wailing, which is the continuous. I just don't think it's that good. And then I also play 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This is basically the card that I wanted to toss in place of the 3rd Sarama. I felt that playing Feather Duster was pretty important because I don't have any other main deck back row outing, so I wanted to just play the 1. Moving on to the traps, though, we have 3 Escape and 3 Chamber. These are just crazy cards, not just for the pops, but their actual effects. I mean, you have basically a Call of the Haunted, and I'll just say a Zodiac Trident. That's probably the best analogy I can come with on the spot. But I think that these cards are crazy for multiple reasons. Their pop abilities, in addition to their actual effects, is crazy. And like Chamber, it's not just called a Honey. You can special summon from hand too, which is even crazier. It's just a really, really good engine card overall. Especially, so like I'll mention this too, like with Chamber and Disaster, like you don't ever want to draw this, which is why you play one of it. But if you do and you have the trap, you can set the trap and then activate it to summon this from hand, which doesn't come up exceptionally often, but when it does, it's definitely important to make sure you do something like that. Then for the last trap that we have is just triple imperm. It's another hand trap, rounding up the main deck. I think that's 12 hand traps in total, because it's 3 Nib, 3 Ash, 3 Valor, and 3 Imperm. Like I said, no Gamma. I just didn't like playing Gamma. I was finding that it was causing more breaking issues than anything else, so I opted to cut it, and I'm very content with that decision. Moving on to the extra deck, though. Extra deck is, in my opinion, what should be considered standard. Maybe 1 or 2 changes here and there, I'm not sure yet, but it's similar to some of my old lists with a couple shifts. So we have 3 Soul of Rage and 3 Soul of Anguish for our smaller links, our Link 2 and Link 3 Unchained monster. Because we're playing Extrav, you kind of want to max out on these, and it's definitely worth it. Like, these come up in exceptionally large amount. Worst case scenario, you start off by making Solar Rage and then you go into an Anguish, but either way, like, it's absolutely nuts. And then we have 2 Abomination. I think 2 of this is good. It actually comes up a lot. I've won more games on Dueling Book with this card than anything else. During the end phase, like, just being able to pop a card is crazy, because if you out most of their board during the end phase, you just get rid of another card. That way their board is completely outed. It's pretty nuts. And then we have a Trizbana and a Unicorn for the random Link 3s. I thought about playing a second Unicorn, but the Trizbana is also good for back row removal, so I'll probably keep it just because I think it's pretty good. Then I play a Zeroboros. I thought about cutting this too for another Unicorn. That might be what I actually do, is cut a Zeroboros for Unicorn. But at the same time, like, between these 2, if I really had to cut one, I feel like cutting the Trizbana over the Zeroboros is the better decision. But it's kind of a tough call there. Then I play 2 Access Code Talker because card's just ridiculous. It does come up semi-often, not like exceptionally often, but every once in a while, it does come up more than you'd think. But typically, like I said, the card that I end up making most is Abomination. When it comes to like my ending, like, end of game kind of board, when I want to wrap the game up, that's usually what I go into. Then we have more Dragoon outs. I just play 2 Dingirsu. This came up, I think, twice the other day when I was playing on Dueling Book. I just dropped it after I baited his Dragoon negation, and the guy just scooped, and that was against Sky Striker, I think. He was playing Dragoon Sky Striker, which I don't know why people are playing Dragoon and Sky Striker. I get that it puts a spell engrave, but like it's just really bad to play in that deck, so avoid that at all costs. Moving on to the side deck, though. The side deck is, as I always say, subject to change. It is opinionated based on what I think I'm going to see in my meta, in addition to what I think are just overall good side deck cards, and some techs, which is the even more fun stuff. But we have 3 Droll and Lockbird for some hand traps, some additional hand traps, I should say. I don't play the Lancia. I couldn't find space considering what I wanted to play in here. It was just really tough to. So I just have the Drolls as extra hand trap. And another reason for that, I like playing Droll in this deck, and I've stated this before, because I like to side deck the Reincarnation with it, because this is a going second deck. So if your opponent is like a decent player, they'll make you go first. And if they make you go first, and you know they're going to make you go first, you side deck in the Droll and Reincarnations, then you have the possibility of hitting them with the Droll and Reincarnation lock, which is crazy. Then for additional traps, I do play 2 Ice Dragon's Prison and 2 Trap Trick. The Ice Dragon's Prison, it comes up partially. It's not like all the time, but if I know that I'm going to be forced to go first, or if I want to trick my opponent and I go first on purpose, then I would side in the Ice Dragon's Prison, the Trap Tricks, and the Reincarnations. Just have a bunch of trap cards in there. Then the spell cards, we have 3 Dark Ruler and 2 Lightning Storm. I think that, you know, like I said, this deck overall has a lot of budget potential. I just play expensive cards in here because I like to maximize my chances of doing well with the deck. There's nothing saying that you have to play any of the super expensive cards. You can make this deck ridiculously cheap if you wanted to. I mean, it's kind of crazy how cheap it can be, which is nice, having that ability to do so. But yeah, I think that playing the Lightning Storm just gives me more back row outs, and the Dark Ruler itself is just a whole board shut-off, which is crazy. Definitely want to have those board shut-offs there for your big combo decks. But that is the Unchained deck profile. I really enjoy this deck. It's ridiculously fun to play, and honestly, so many people don't know how to play against it that like a lot of people just end up losing hard to it. So I'm very content when I play this deck online, because really nobody knows what I'm doing. Like they're just they don't know when to negate, so when they don't know when to negate, I just bait a negation out and then I keep playing, and then they can't play and they end up losing, which is even better. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And for right now, this is Team Yugi Fails signing out.